Wow, what a privilege to do this session. You know, when Corin and the team got hold of us to say, would we chat through and interview this amazing couple on marriage? I thought, oof, this is going to be a dog show. But anyway, we've literally had a few meals together and tried to connect online to kind of like put some architecture to what we're going to say this afternoon. And Darin really hasn't behaved. But I want to start by saying that this is an incredible couple. I've had a relationship with Darin for 35 years, I think. I remember the very first home group that I ran in my little flat on the Berea, and Darin was a part of that. And so we've got a long history, and he's the real deal. In fact, they're both the real deal. These are, what you see is what you get. I've watched intently at this couple, and they truly are an amazing couple. And Darin and Paula, I'm so thankful to God that he knitted our paths in this journey of life. Nearly 58 years of collective marriage. We've done it. I don't think we've got all the answers. In fact, I know we don't have all the answers. But really want to just explore a little bit about marriage. And as I've thought about it, you know, it's interesting that the first shareholders agreement we sign is at the altar when we give our vows to each other. The only difference is most shareholders agreements have put options, call options, tag-along options, exit options. This shareholders agreement doesn't have that. And there is no exit option. It's an option that when we stand at the altar before God, that this is a lifetime shareholders agreement. And yet, it's interesting, we put a lot of effort into all the other facets of life, business, relationships, but probably marriage is one that you only put effort when things are going south. You know, I remember in the early days of Wanda and I getting married, she tried to drag me to every marriage course that there was, you know, and I was so resistant. I was just hell-bent on earning money, building my business, and marriage must just kind of tag along. And so I want to start by saying that I'm incredibly thankful to God for this woman. 35 years ago, we made a covenant to journey life together. It's been tough. It's had its ups and its downs, but we're still standing and we're still dancing. And I look at this woman now. I love her more today than I did 35 years ago. She's probably the hottest, most beautiful, nearly 60-year-old grandmother that I know. She is just incredible. And I truly am. Jokes aside, I pinch myself when I think that God entrusted her to me. And you know, one of the things that daunts me, it's something that the older I get, it daunts me that one day I'm going to stand before the Father. And the first question he's going to ask me is not, hey, well done on building Custom Capital Finance, you did a great job. First question he's going to ask me is, how did you take care of my daughter? And that is something that daunts me. Because I'm going to have to stand before the Father one day and I'm going to have to answer that question. And so, as we enter into the latter years of our lives, I think you begin to concentrate and focus on what's important. And so I wanted to just lay that as a platform, and then I want to ask Paula, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Darin?
I'm watching that clock. How long have we got? I am married to, which many of you have witnessed. I can't say the same about how you feel about Wanda, but I am married to the most fun, the most loving, the most extroverted encourager. You have made my life so fun. And I always tell my kids, oh, please, Lord, I don't want anything to happen to Dad because life is going to be so dull if it does. I'm the bad cop, obviously. But honestly, you have made our lives so full in so many ways, and I honor you today. You've just given me, the best life. I've loved doing life with you.
Thank you, Paula.
Ah, man. I bet you wish your wife said that. I see all the women are clapping. The oaks like, oh, yeah. Hey, Bones, what's... But I will tell you that on the marriage course, Paul has been trying to get me to a marriage course every year for 15, 20 years. And I tell her, no, I'll come only for the session 7 on sex. I said, the rest of it we've got covered.
That information was for free, by the way.
Just this as well, this is not session 7. You know, I think we need to be intentional about honoring our spouses. You know what's interesting is we only honor them come a major birthday or a wedding. I think we need to get into the habit of honoring our spouses more often. Because words are very, very powerful. And so let me encourage you, do that. Honor your wives, honor your husbands, whatever you can. And more powerfully than that, do it in front of other people. You know, we've had the privilege of walking life together for many years, and what I love about this couple is they're straight shooters. And so we know that when we're in their company, we can't hide. And I want to encourage you, are there couples that you journey with that'll do that? That'll stop you and look you straight in the eyes and be honest with you, because we need that. We've all got shortcomings, we've all got blind spots, and rather walk with a couple like we do in business. It's interesting. We have business mentors, but do we have marriage mentors? You know, it's something that I think is so close to God's heart and so important, and so let me encourage you with that. But let's get on to what we think or kind of have spoken about over the last while, which is trying to get to understand what was God's intent with marriage and business. And Wanda being the Holy One amongst us, I've asked her just to kind of just put a bit of a foundation to what does Scripture say about marriage?
I should go up. Yeah, there we go. So I've just put them on the screen so you can take photos of it so we don't have to spend time. But obviously unity is the most important one. Oh, yeah. Where the two become one. Unity brings stability, shared vision, and peace into both marriage and business decisions. When we both contribute, it guards against pride, isolation, and division. And I think they're such key things that we can tend to wash over so quickly in the busyness of life. And the second would be wisdom through counsel, Proverbs 15:22. And here the benefit, shared wisdom produces strong decisions, better stewardship, and divine guidance. We guard each other against deception, haste, and poor judgment. And I've often said to Chris, you know, if we had started slowly and applied these things from the beginning, how much better would we have been now? Yes, Chris is successful and our marriage is good, but how much more could it have been? So then the next one, complementary strengths, Proverbs 18:22. Our businesses become more resilient and anointed as both our strengths and weaknesses are covered by each other's gifts. Excellent. And I think in this case, when you've got a partners in a business and you're not part of it, by discussing things over a meal or finding the right moment to discuss things, God, it's like inviting a mentor or someone else. God sometimes gives the partner insight. It doesn't have to be the full truth, but it might bring an alarm bell or an awareness to what's going on, and maybe if your antenna's up, you'll hear it. Because when you're on the ground, you may not hear that. So that's definitely one to take into consideration. And then shared blessing and accountability, Colossians 3:23. This ensures integrity, godly stewardship, and shared joy in success, knowing the work honors God and blesses others. And then spiritual protection, Matthew 18:19. Our business decisions are backed by divine favor and spiritual authority, not just human effort. And then I just put a few points at the bottom. Strengthens unity, which is the increases wisdom and counsel, merges complementary gifts, provides accountability and blessing, and invites God's covering and favor.
Beautiful. You know, we're in a spiritual battle, and the enemy hates marriage. And we've got to understand that. And so we're up against it. We're in a fight. And we've got to fight for our marriages. If I look at statistics, and there's so many, just go and put it into ChatGPT. But just to give you one or two, 70 to 80% of Christian marriage arguments, disputes, stem from or are strongly related to money. 40 to 60% of divorces can be traced to financial stress and related disputes. Fights over money cause 8 out of 10 arguments. It's so key, and the business element of our marriages is so key because it's all got to do with finances. So, Darin and Paula, give us a little bit of insight into how you have managed and navigated the intertwine and the journey of business into your marriage.
Sure. Marriage is messy, business is even messier, I think, so where to start. But I really just believe marriage is about team and really navigating what God's calling is on our individual lives, but as our lives as a married couple. And that navigating is, sure, it's not a straight lane, is it, at all? I think we get married and we do life together, and then we do family together, we raise our children, and we also create wealth. But sometimes that's when we separate. We create wealth through our businesses, but somehow we get that wrong in that suddenly we separate. It's not a together thing. How that together happens is not always the same for one couple as it is for another, but I think communication, Chris, is fundamental. And to me, I've just found very naturally, without having to strive to do it, we all love coming to Trigger. Why? Trigger just creates a safe place. They do it successfully, and they do it significantly. And we love this space because it's safe. And I just wish that more of us, could take that safe space and place and make our homes feel safe for our spouses to be able to come back at the end of the day and share and be vulnerable, share their anxieties, share their opportunities, which are exciting, and really just be able to have that space to share with us, because in that we can pray into, we can discern. We don't even have to know the people. We don't even have to know the companies. We don't have to even know the actual business and the intricacies of the business. But we can, in that place, I feel that we really earn the right to speak into our spouse's life. And out of that can come great direction and godly direction, because you are then unified in trying to do business and build life together. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's creating that safe space to be able to communicate the things about business that you're doing 80% of your day, coming home and bringing it safely into that place.
Yeah, you know, I just want to pick up on that, Darin, before you comment. You know, I've got mates whose wives, as long as they go to Woolworths and their credit card goes through, they're fine. They really don't have a clue about what their husbands do. They don't really care. But all they want to make sure is there's money in the bank. They go to ATM and they draw the cash, and it doesn't say insufficient funds. And I think when it comes to marriage, of course, when we go through the highs and the lows, the valleys and the mountains, sometimes the valleys are easier, Darin. Then when you get to the mountains, you start making a bit of money, you start being successful. How have you navigated that space as you've matured in your business walk and actually materially things have started to go well with you? I mean, how's that been in terms of communicating that and walking that through?
First of all, you're an amazing couple, and I know everybody knows that, but I really honor the two of you, and you've impacted our lives for many years. But just on the question, Chris, You know, I decided when I got married to Paulie that I didn't want her not to know if I got into financial trouble. I had too many friends that got themselves into a position. I'm not judging them, I'm just telling you what I saw, that as they hit trouble, they started to break because they hadn't been truthful with their partners. And there was a terrible place to see them in. I couldn't even imagine what the wives were going through, or the husband, in whichever way. But this instance, it was the wife, or the two wives of the two different individuals. As far as I know, you know. So I'm just really clearly not advocating. In other words, I'll be at marriage counseling. So I decided when I got married, I said to Paula, here's my ATM card. Here's my secret code, which is a brilliant one, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's my bank balance. You can look anytime you want. You might get a fright because there might be nothing there. And give me yours. And you got to do whatever you got to do. But you'll always know if we need to get a bucky and we need to sell everything. Or, sorry, I don't dislike buckies, but just by comment, okay? And the biggest thing for me, Chris, has been the freedom to be able to be truthful to my partner. And I want to challenge everybody. The biggest asset you have, well, if I'm going to face the Lord one day and he's made me one with my wife and you with your husband and vice versa, the biggest asset you've got is your partner. Your mates, I just want to even say, your business partners, they're going to hang around, they're going to love you while it's good. And your friends, please, I'm not being disrespectful, your friends will still be with you, but they go home. But your wife or your husband gets into bed with you and cries with you and celebrates with you. You have to use each other to guard each other, to spiritually hear God correctly, and to have the courage to be bold, to step into what God's saying. Because if it goes right, you celebrate together. If it goes wrong, you cry together, but you're right there. And that has been, for me, Chris, and once, that's been our biggest asset. Because we're not competing. We're working together. There are times we will disagree, Chris, and of course you have to make an executive decision, certain times, okay? And a lot of the time it's the wife's executive decision. But we don't use each other enough. As believers, we feel we've got to hide from each other, Ash. We've got to make sure she's safe and Wanda's safe and Chris. We got to tell the truth and fire on. So I hope.
I love that, Darin. I think that, as you were talking there, I'm just reminded, most of you know my story that in 2001, God stripped me financially. How was that for you, Cook? I remember in those days, the burden that I carried for the family, and I didn't want Wanda to carry that burden for me, and so I kind of protected her against the gory detail as God was stripping me, and I was doing a good job to lose everything we had. How was that time for you? How did you navigate? Just talk a little bit about those years.
I think I have childlike faith. So for me, it comes across that I'm a bit doof because I don't worry. So I hadn't come from a family that had lost everything. My dad just diligently worked and provided for us. Not at high levels or anything, but my mom was very rooted and grounded in God. And so I was brought up peacefully and prayerfully, and so I just continued that. So it never worried me that Chris was an entrepreneur. It worried my dad terribly. It petrified him. But it never worried me, and shame, I think he carried the weight for all of us. But when Chris we knew we had nothing left, my poor dad said, I can keep you going for 3 months, but thereafter I can't. I said, Dad, we don't need it. God will provide. And we went down to nothing, and it never worried me. We built this house, and I never felt it was ours, so God had prepared me. I asked God, how much? Who I must speak to? He gave me the price. I found the buyer. I sold the house, and it was all fine. And I just knew that Chris was a man of God, and he stuck to God. He never gave up. I never got angry. And together, we just prayed, and I just warfared on his behalf. And I knew whether we had lots or nothing or a little, it would be fine, and the children would be okay. And I just faithfully did life. And I always say, you can't say that for everybody, because we're all different, and we all handle things differently. I've got most friends, when the things that we've been through and of recent, just said no, they wouldn't be alive, or they'd be depressed, or they'd be medicated. But God only puts you through what you can handle, and yeah, I'm so proud of you.
So, Paulie, let's talk about some of the challenges being married to an entrepreneur, especially like one like Darin. What have been some of the challenges that you've had to navigate?
Sure. Well, I can honestly say that the highs have been way more than any low. So challenges are just honest challenges. And out of Darin's own mother's mouth comes, there can only be one star at the top of the Christmas tree. And so, this is him right here.
My son said the other day, Dad, what does that mean? Because Mom doesn't know.
But that's how it's been. But often God pairs you not with like, right? You're often very different people when you get married. And there can't be two Darin Owens in the room. And so, yeah, I've had to learn to live with that. I have seen how generous he is in spirit. He's an encourager. People love being around him. He loves being around people. And I've had to come to terms with actually just releasing him into that, because I believe it's what he's called to do, is to edify the body in the marketplace, and actually take joy from seeing him come totally alive in where he's meant to be. But I've had to lay some things down in my own heart and really release him into that. Which hasn't just come easy. It's quite difficult to share your marriage partner with a lot of people. So I've had to lay that down. But I think it's easier to lay that down where you see your partner operating in their total gifting, because that's what you would want. And he has done the same for me. He's given me wings to fly in my own area. What else? Challenges, I suppose, something simple as time. Darin's diary is very, very full, and he's consistently got people phoning and asking for meetings, that kind of thing. And I've got my own little life and my own little business things that I need to get done. And I'm like, why do I actually have to phone his PA to actually get time in his diary? And like, that is actually, it's a small thing, but it's actually like, I don't want to speak about it at 9 o'clock at night when I'm switching off, or it's quiet time, or it's family time. So those little things can become big things if you let them be, a fight for his time. I think maybe...
You know what I love about you guys? When we need to have dinner together, we'll send a message, and then we'll get an answer by email from the PA. Yeah, we can do breakfast on the 23rd of March, 2026. I say to Wanda, what the freak? Like 6 months from now. I mean, am I right, Terry? But Terry, on a more serious note, handling disagreements, disputes, how have you done that? How have you,
I am firm. Just want you to know I'm clear on who's the head, and I'm clear on who's the tail. No. Chris, I honestly, and I know we all do this at different levels, but I was thinking this morning about this topic over the last couple of weeks that we've been talking. But just this morning,
encouraging.
Just this morning, as I was in the shower, and I really felt like the Spirit of God impressing on me. She's your mentor. Yeah. My wife, I've never said this to you, but actually she's like a mentor to me. My closest mentor is my wife. Because I'll come home with something on my plate, and like all of us, there's always opportunity. God brings them past us, and we just got to make sure that God wants us in the right one so we don't disrupt or delay. But I'll always run through them with Paula, some in depth and some not in depth. But it's amazing how God uses our partners. And she will say, I sense this or I sense that, or just this week, there were 2 things she sensed that irritated me. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going, you're firing, you know what I'm saying? You're just ready to sign. And then your wife's like, look, I feel a check, or what do you mean? We're already ready to roll, you know? We're in line, we're going. We've lined everything up. And both those things were wrong. And yesterday we were able to actually talk about that. And we were able to adjust it. And this is marriage and business. This is our best assets, Chris. And so when we have a dispute, like Paula said to me a couple of years ago, I used to go overseas all the time, every 3 months, and then COVID came. And after, I think, 6 months, Paula was like, you really need to go overseas. I said, I can't, there's COVID. She says, well, can't you just find a way, get the injection, do something? So I'm not having an injection. She says, well, I know oaks that are doing it, and you can still go. You need to get away, which was a terrible experience for me, folks. But she's brutally honest with me, and that really helps me to be able to, it helps us to be able to live a life. And I will talk, Chris, like we all do, and the amounts don't matter. We're all in different levels, and God's got us there for reasons. So my level might be a lot lower than yours, and I'm happy with that. But I'll talk to her about a big deal for me, for us as a family, and I promise you, I can actually see her eyes closing. I said to Paula, she goes, I'm so tired. I said, I'm telling you about something that could make our whole family leave a legacy. And she's like, look, can you leave the figures out and just give me like the punchline? And you know, that actually really works for my character. And I'm so grateful, Chris, to God that He's given me a wife that continues to encourage me and release me in all my faults because of the kindness of our King.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? We want to share the detail, but we don't really want to take the comments that come after we've shared the detail, because we only want to see it our way.
Yeah.
And I must say that's an area Wanda and I have battled with, is disputes and how do we mitigate and how do we resolve issues.
He's battled.
I'm the one who's battled. She always says to me, "Why are you sulking? Why aren't you talking?" You know, because that tends to be my kind of go-to. I just don't talk and just sulk. You know, but.
I just want to say one thing. Sorry, Darin. I think what we've learned over 35 years, and I wish we'd learned it in the beginning, if we understood the power of unity and oneness, and we actually are together and we're not walking this road separately trying to compete against each other, how powerful. Because it would remove all argument, and you'd never doubt your partner's comment that it's coming as a criticism. It's actually coming because we won. It's for the benefit of all of us and the family, and to demonstrate that to the children. So it shouldn't be that we only realize it now. It should have been like that from the beginning. But you're young, and we didn't have parents that told us anything. I used to say to my mom, I would never have signed up for this. Like, you didn't tell me anything about marriage. But they were quiet, and we have not kept quiet with our children. We've shown them and exposed them to the good, bad, ugly, and the good, because they need to see and have tools on how to handle things and to communicate. And unfortunately, generally with men, it's pride. And there has to be such a love and understanding that you can drop the pride, hear, and then it goes well. Otherwise, you're fighting against. You don't want to listen. Doesn't work.
True story.
Can I tell you a story, Chris? Can I throw a story?
Yeah, Darin, before you tell a story, because we literally got a minute and a half, I just want to say that we have such an opportunity to witness the gospel through our marriages. It's so difficult, and yet for the world system, where we know divorce rates are north of 50%, we have a wonderful, wonderful opportunity of demonstrating something different to a world that's desperate. But give us your closing comments, Darin and Paulie.
So I'll quickly tell you a story about unity and being one. I'm studying Joseph a decade ago. So I tell Paula, you can't believe what happened here. Joseph stored up for a famine. She said, oh, that's fantastic. I said, he put 20% away. She said, oh, that's wonderful. I said, from now, every month I want you to take 20% of what you earn and I want you to put it away in a separate account and I'll do the same. So 4 months later, my PA comes to me and says, listen, we've closed your account. So I said, what are you talking about? She said, someone's stealing. So I said, no, it's not possible. Well, how they? No, someone's stealing. They go to the bank, they track it back. No, Paul is transferring what she's short in the 20% every month from my account. So I say to her, you can't believe it, that you're taking money from my account. She says, I know, but every month I'm a couple of grand short, so I'm transferring for the 20% that Joseph does. That's the first one. The second one is when I do my will, which you should consider, every year I do a recon with my insurance guys. I make them print out the will and the distribution. I give it to my wife and I say, that's what everything that happens in my life. If we go, have fun, do what you got to do, but there's the breakdown. So then she said, well, that's great. So she pulls out her will. Everything's going to her brothers. So those disputes are hard to handle, but you've got to deal with them while you're alive.